Hello folks, welcome to this tutorial. This is Data Skills for Everyone and we are still looking at basic text processing, how to handle text data with confidence. In our last tutorial, we started looking at how to extract structured data from a text file. If you have not yet seen it, check below in the description for the link to that video. You will discover some basic tricks for fetching structured data from your text file. In this tutorial, we are going to learn how to extract structured pieces of information from computer log files using a very friendly Python package. If you're not familiar with log files, you can read a bit more about this on Wikipedia. Log files provide a rich source of information for owners of websites and other computer systems. For example, you can tell the IP address, request method, and resource requested, date and time, status of the request, and many more information for anyone that is accessing resources on your server. Now, the log file we're using today looks something like this. Now, this is a server log file consisting of several rows of records for any time a resource was requested from the server. Each record includes information about the host, the date and time, request type, and even the request URL, the HTTP status code, the file size. And all these things are encoded in this string here. Based on this structure, if we could somehow extract this information and store it in a pandas data frame, we could easily use it to perform some kind of analytics on the nature of web requests that are coming into our server. So the question is, how can we extract this information so that we can do some kind of analysis on the logs? And folks, just so you know, this data comes from Kaggle and the link below should take you there just in case you want to look at the source. Also take note that for today's problem, we are going to use one Python package called Parse. You could also achieve the same results using some plain Python in combination with regular expressions. But why go the hard way if there is an easier way? At this point, I'll say we are ready to begin, so let's just dig in. Alright, so here we are in our favorite IDE, Spider, and I'm gonna go straight and hack at our problem today. So quickly, let's reading some data, introduce the Parse Python package, and then we will go ahead and reading some data. So the data here is in this data folder. It's called this access log with some numbers there. Okay, so that's what we're gonna reading. Let me just go ahead and quickly reading that data. Alright, so with that, we have some data in, and you can quickly check that we have several lines of data. So let me just quickly inspect. Great. Okay, so that is nicely done. The next thing is for us to go straight to the Parse Python package. And this is it. So basically, it works in the opposite direction of the Python format function, which does very great and allows us to do really nice string substitution. So basically, this is how it works. You can go ahead and import everything into Python, but I would not do that. I would just import Parse from the Parse package, and we are going to use just that. But once you do that, there are so many other methods that you can find very useful. So let's go straight and import it. This is how it is imported. You can go ahead and do that, but we just need one thing for today. So let me just go and do that. This is all we're gonna need for today, so I'm gonna import it straight away, and you can check the documentation for additional functions. So now, to get this to work, we need to quickly refresh our minds. If you know how the format method works, it works by allowing us to create some string literal and then substitute some portions of it with data. So the basic format works like this. You have a string. So you could simply do this, and this is how the basic format function works. And you can see that we have the output nicely substitution. substituted. You could also use keyword names here, so keyword arguments here. For example, we could say name here, and then we could say animal here. So in the format method, we are going to specify the names, the function, the parameter here as that, and then we specify animal here. So this should also work nicely, and you can see the output as being exactly the same as what we did. And the reason I'm introducing this is that this is what we're going to use to work with the pass function. We need to specify some named parameters here that are going to be used in the replacement. So with that said, let's go ahead, and I'm going to comment this out, and we're going to create a new format that we are going to use to do our parse. Now quickly, just let's take a look at our data that we want to reverse engineer. Now let's pretend that we wanted to create a pattern for creating this here. Now there are several components. You can see that the host is here, and then inside these square brackets you have the date and time, and then there is even the time zone. If you wanted to capture all as separate units, you can do that. For simplicity, I'm just going to focus on this chunk. You can go to any level of details that you want. You could even go ahead, but later on, once you know that this is the date and time, you could use also other Python packages to handle this and extract the pieces of the date time that you want. This here is also the request, what was requested, the HTTP method that was used, and then the resource that was requested. But in this scenario, I'm just going to capture everything here as one unit, the request. Then I'm going to capture this as the response. Then I captured this as the file size. So based on this, I'm going to create a pattern that we're going to use to pass the data. All right, so basically this is it, and we have the format specified. So we can now give it a try and see what we get. Let me make sure that we have everything nicely done so that we can run this. And then let's do the import. Great. So based on the signature, if you check it out here, we need to specify the format and then the string that we want to pass in. That should be, there are a lot of other extra information that you can use, but we don't care about that now. So let's just go ahead and see the result. Let's see. Okay, so we check our result. Sorry. Great. So this is what we are getting. And based on this, we can see that nicely our format is working. Just so that we can see it even more nicely, we can apply this method to it. So the result dot named, and what it's going to get us is this key value pair of all the placeholders that we specified here. So basically what it translates is that these named parameters we specified here are going to be provided for us as keys, and their values are going to be the captured values from the pattern that we returned. We specified the patterns here in the data that we specified. So nicely, you can see that this is done for us, and you can check the result and see whether it's doing exactly what you want. If it's not doing what you want, then you can go back and do the parsing again. So you can see, for example, that our status is not behaving the way we want it to behave. The request is not also getting fully what we need it to get. So let's do a little correction, and then we can come back and go to the next step. Now you can notice here that our get is captured in double quotes here, and that's what we are missing. So unless we specify that, we're going to be in trouble. Now there are two ways you can go about that. We can go ahead and specify using the double quotes here in the request here, that, end like that, but we need to escape that so it works out for us. Otherwise, we're going to be in trouble. Or the other simple way to go about it is we can just use on the outside single quotes so that we can maintain our double quotes inside here. And you can, good. So once we do this, we should be able to refine our result. So let's see whether that is going to get us a better output than we did before. So we go back and run this again, and then we can check the results. Great. And as you can see, this time around we have the request is nicely capturing the whole URL in the request method that was specified, and then also we have our status code and then the file size. So at this point, you can see that everything returned here is a string. This is where you can do your necessary data cleaning and do your conversions if you need to. And so you can go ahead. The Parse allows you to specify a lot of details so that it can even go ahead and do the necessary data conversion for you. So for example, if we wanted to say that the size should be a digit, we can specify D here. So let's try that. Great. And you can see that size has nicely been translated into a digit, a number for us. And so, yeah, there are many ways that you could also go ahead and do your file conversions, but data type conversions. But basically, this works for us. And so, no need to go about it. The rest is going to be left for your exploration. Now, what we are going to do is we need to apply this to all of our data here, several lines of it. And you can see we have so many records. And so, to go about that, I'm going to show you one trick that you can save a lot of time doing this. So now our goal is to pass all the data. I'm gonna need the pandas data frame to help me do this nice and easily. So let's import pandas. Great. So with pandas imported now, we can then go ahead and reading the rest of the data. But I just want to use a simple trick. Instead of writing a for loop, we can use the map function and save a lot of time. This is already built into Python, and it provides a very fast way of iterating of a data without writing loop. So you can see that you simply have to pass your iterable, which is one of Python's collections like list or dictionary, etc. And then you pass in a function that is going to operate on one of each of the items in the collection, and basically that's what we want to do. So this works perfectly for us. So I'm just going to go in and apply this formatting to all the data examples that we have. And mind you, when you look at the data we have about, let me see, close to 20,000 records. So let's just see from here. Yes, a lot of data, and writing a for loop in such a situation may take a bit of a time, but I mean, it's not too long. So let's go ahead and apply it this time. So this may look like a mouthful, but it's very simple. So this is the function that is going to work on this collection of data, and for each item in the collection, we are going to pass basically using this format that has been specified here. So let's go ahead, run these two lines, and then we can put this result here into a pandas data frame. Oops, what are we getting here? Let me see. Let me just run everything from top to start. Let's see whether that works. Nope, something is wrong here, but all right, seems to be working here. I think we had a little problem with the format specifier here. So again, I'm going to leave that one for you to experiment with. I think it was giving us a little problem here, but this is not the ultimate result that I want. there was one last step that we did. You remember that in our previous calculation, when we had this result, we needed to have the key value pairs, and so we ran this function on top of it. So this is what we want to hand over to the pandas data frame. And so here we just do a slight modification and say that whenever each item is passed, let's return the named tuple here, the key value pairs, and that makes sense for our next calculation here into the pandas data frame. So let's do that and we should be fine. Okay, great, that's done. So let's inspect one more time to see whether we have the correct output. Great, and you can see that nicely we have our data that we wanted to collect. So the host here, the time, the status, the size. And you could see from here that there could be a little more data processing that you can do, but I can leave that to you for your own practice, given that we have done a lot of these things already in the previous video. And so folks, basically this is all it takes to solve this kind of a problem. And I love this Python package here because of the simplicity that it allows us to extract a structured data from text files like this. And so folks, I'm gonna leave it here for today, and we are gonna continue with some more problems later on in the series. Thank you so much for watching and see you next time.